Across the domains of entertainment, fans everywhere are wondering, why are our franchises failing? It's not just Star Trek with the dancing aliens. It's not just Star Wars with no wars left at all. No, it is across a wide variety of different franchises. The fandoms feel failed. Folks, let me tell you, we can tell you why this is happening. We're going to go to a writer out of Hollywood, Johnny Blaze Snider. He's working on a great project, King of Kings. Let's check out now and see what he says is the reason behind it, with his experience working for Disney, Marvel, Pixar, and especially the Muppets. All right, folks, welcome back to another fantastic day here on the WDW Pro channel. As always, you are greatly appreciated. Each time you click on one of these videos, we take not a single viewer for granted. And today, folks, we know it is a big day for news. It has been a big week for news. And we are continuing to pump out the latest, the greatest, all the news about entertainment and especially the Walt Disney Company. However, we wanted to take just a minor break from all of the fervor of the writer's strike and everything else that's going on, the earnings calls, etc. And we wanted to get back to what really matters, the franchises, the stories that are behind them, and the fact that maybe the entire reason that entertainment is struggling right now has more to do with the fact that fans aren't getting what they want. So let's get down to the crux of the matter. To do that, we had on for the Pro Show pre-show 2 weeks ago, a writer out of Hollywood. Jesse is on with us, and he's going to walk us through why it is so difficult for the people who love the franchises to get on board with the franchises and make the impact that all the fans want. Why is it that we see failure after failure after failure? Now, usually this kind of content is exclusive to members only, but today we are making it available to all of you. Of course, this is just the abbreviated version. If you'd like the full interview, make sure to click the join button on the channel and become a member. We will give you all kinds of exclusive content there. But folks, this is going to be an exciting conversation whether you are a member or not. Strap in and let's find out what is going on where the fandoms feel failed by the franchises they love.
Essentially, I'm a writer. I've written professionally since I was a teenager, working for Marvel and DC and Disney, Pixar and the Muppets. And, I'm not one of those guys whose names got rocketed to stardom within the industry, but I've been around. I've worked for every company, whether it was just pitching them things or actually directly, working for them as a writer. And my show is really a show on writing and on how to properly, lovingly adapt established IP that people adore. And, I'm in so many fandoms, like I said already, the Muppets and Disney Animation, Walt Disney and Gene Roddenberry and Jim Henson are some of my idols. And I have grown up just wanting to get into the space that they created and go and do some loving send-ups to the things, that I love. And, you're just stopped at every turn because they have such a superficial approach to the way they hire people. So, this show, Coolest Geek Alive, it's just all about, sort of my frustration with the industry who is refusing to listen to the demands of their freaking customers. It's so tone deaf to me. I used to be annoyed with the capitalistic, attitude of so many of the editors and producers and companies that I was working for. And now I would give anything to get that back in lieu of this super polarizing, political ideology-driven marketplace where they ruin all the art by just injecting politics into it and making it kind of purposely divisive.
Right. Well, that's the goal of politics. And so politics, of course, in its appropriate and proper space exists in, I suppose, a healthy way. You have the fight, against the two or the various different ideologies, thought processes, and worldviews. But then once it escapes its boundaries, then it begins to ruin the things that it should not be in, right? So it's just like if you were to put hot sauce in a soup made for people who can't handle it, it ruins it. It ruins the entire experience, even a drop. And so what we're seeing right now is that politics has escaped its proper place, and when it enters into fiction, well, it ruins what I call the watering hole. Now, I got that name from Mark Kern, he being the original development lead, the game developer for World of Warcraft back when it was first being developed. Mark Kern said that entertainment is so important because it's the watering hole where we can gather together. And his analogy, his metaphor, comes from the fact that on the Serengeti, during the dry season, predator and prey will gather around the water and they will not attack each other during that time. And that goes to, without that, all the animals die, because if they kill all the prey, all the herbivores as they come to the water, well, then that's it. That's over. And so somehow deep down biologically, even animals in Africa know that you have to have neutral ground to come together on. For us, it used to be sports, entertainment, etc. What do you think, Jesse?
It's geek culture, that for me was that space. I could have went into film or, written screenplays and TV, but to me that was a very superficial culture. And I like the idea that the watering hole that I chose was superheroes. And it didn't matter if you were on the right or the left, you were worshiping at the altar of Batman and Superman. And that meant essentially we all wanted the same thing. We wanted to save the world. And maybe you were going to use violent tactics and I was going to try to take the high road no matter what, but we both wanted the same thing. And Superman and Batman were always going to figure out a way to work together for the greater good. And you don't see people working together for the greater good. I went off on a huge tirade today on Twitter because I just got back. I left social media 6 years ago because the conversation had gotten so ugly, and it was giving me agita and making me depressed. And I can't even do this anymore. All my friends in the comic book industry are fighting. Mark Waid, who's a brilliant writer, and Ethan Van Sciver, who's a brilliant artist. They are both people who I've looked up to and worked with to various capacities, who have supported me and been encouraging to me. I can't choose sides. I don't want to choose sides. I'm in the middle. I love everybody. And I would really love us all to calm down and come meet together. And I said, it's just so depressing when you go on comics Twitter, because the only people I follow on Twitter for the most part is just all the comics people, and all they do is fight. I go on every morning and I look at the feed, and within 5 minutes, I'm about to fight with somebody about some stupid thing. And I'm like, oh no, delete. And then I keep having to look until I find something that, comes from the heart and is sweet and is a sharing of affection. What happened to that?
Well, we do need more of it. We need more coming together, especially for people who are on the same side of any given topic. There are plenty of those who are lined against us in terms of taking our entertainment and turning it into what Jonas calls post-rational. I call it post-modern, but what have you. This content that no longer cares about the narrative, it no longer cares about the literary value, and no longer cares about the proper hero's journey, but instead views entertainment as a method by which to create socio-political change. Now, Jesse, before we get into comics, you had mentioned that you've worked for just about every entertainment company there is under the sun. Talk to us for a moment about who's the best out there. Who, when you were working for these companies, who did you have the best relationship with? What was the best experience you had?
Oh my God. I literally can't really think of anybody. I can tell you individuals, I worked for Disney, Pixar, and the Muppets, which was a terrible experience, but my editor, Aaron Sparrow, he's one of the greatest people in the industry. He always watches out for his creative people. He and I are still best friends to this day. So, you'll find individuals who are wonderful, but it's the systems, really. These systems were created so long ago, and they're slowly amended over time, and they're just not built right. If I knew what I knew now, then I wouldn't have become a comic book writer. I'd be a comic book editor. And now I would be helping DC or Marvel or whoever make billions of dollars. They could be making billions of dollars with somebody like us at the top of the heap going, yo, don't shoot yourself in the for no reason. Keep the visual the same. If you want diversity, enter in new characters, write them well, hire writers who know how to write compelling stories, focus on the quality of the craft, not on casting people who are a good press release for you and make you look good so you can virtue signal to the rest of your Hollywood peers who all think in lockstep like you do. I'm a punk. So for me, this whole idea of everybody's going this way, let's all go that. No, everybody goes that way, I go that way. And I go, all right, well, what's the underdog that needs a light shined upon it? And unfortunately, for a while, it was comic books and it was geek culture stuff. And then we got brought up to the forefront. And I was like, cool, we've arrived. This is great. And then they had mismanaged everything and essentially crumpled us up and thrown us away in favor of their own stupid ideas. And all the stuff that they make for us has become stuff that they're making for them, stuff that they make the exact same way they make everything else. And it's really sad that you asked me that question, and I can't name a single one.
Well, we'll come back to that. Jesse, you talked about working for the Muppets. Now, that is intriguing to me because that is a highly dysfunctional segment of the Walt Disney Company, beleaguered. They have massive turnover as of late. They seem to have eliminated almost all of their institutional knowledge, wisdom, etc. Talk to us about what that was like. What kind of parameters were put in place on you? Did you feel like that was a division or a group that had it together, or did you feel like, oh my gosh, this is nuts working for this little crew?
No, there's a lot of things I have to say about that, so I'll try to sum it all up. But Muppets is my first love. I really believe that, especially for creative people, the Muppets are the medicine we all need. Most creative people are very insecure. We make things for other people, but we aren't the other people, so we're not sure if necessarily everybody's going to like it and see it the same way that we are. The Muppets represent creative people failing spectacularly. No one will ever be as bad at their chosen pursuit as the Muppets are. That's why the saying of, oh, you fucking Muppet, in the Brit, it means you can't get it right. The Muppets can't get it right. The Swedish Chef can't cook. The Electric Mayhem can't finish a song without, destroying the stage. Fozzie can't tell a joke. Kermit is a frog running a variety show. Usually,
and Statler and Waldorf are terrible at what they do. All they can do is mock what's happening on stage. You're exactly right.
It just keeps going down. Every single character essentially functions in this way. But Miss Piggy is one of the biggest ones. She's a pig, and she's pig-headed. They've been too focused on the fact that, oh, she's a beautiful. No. She's a bad person. That's right. The comedy. She is selfish and self-centered. The idea that they gave her a talk show and had a whole Muppet show about rewarding Piggy with her own talk show was the complete opposite tone-deaf thing from what we want from the Muppets. We want to see the Muppets struggle in that wonderful way that they struggle because it makes the audience feel better about their own struggles in their own lives. It is such a beautiful healing tool for creative people and I think just people in general. So they don't exactly get that, and they keep coming up with ideas for the Muppets that are rather tone deaf. The problem too is because I courted Bill Beretta for 5 years. Bill Beretta is the current Muppet captain over there. He was Bobo the Dancing Bear. He's Pepe the King Prawn, and now he's a lot of the mainstream characters in the cast. For people who have moved
in
on.
A cast of very few.
Yeah, but he is brilliant. Bill is really brilliant, and I was a fan of his. I was a fan of Muppet Tonight. By the second season, Muppets Tonight got better, but the first season wasn't so great, and they lost their audience. But it could have went on. It was the right idea. I finally sat down with him, and I gave him my pitch, and Bill got me. Bill was like, "Wow, Jesse gets the Muppets, and I'm going to try to get him in on the Muppet show that they were doing." When the Modern Family guy came in, he brought in all his own writers. So this is problem number one. They're not bringing in people who are fans of the source material. They're not bringing in somebody like me who will passionately cut and hurt myself in order to do great. I will give my blood to make the Muppets great because I feel that I owe them a debt of gratitude for the part that they've played in my life and my own creative development. And all I want to do is give back to my hero, Jim Henson, by writing some great Muppet stuff because I see what they're making and it's not great, even though that Muppets Mayhem show I've been enjoying. So that's the first thing. When they say, hey, does anybody want this promotion at Disney for the Muppets? Everybody raises their hand. They don't say, hey, who really likes the Muppets and knows a lot about the Muppets? They say, who wants this job? Everybody wants a job. The reason why I got the job for the Muppets and these other things was because my buddy Aaron Sparrow, when I went to him at San Diego Comic-Con, I told him how much I love the Muppets. That's why he hired me, because he wanted people who love the material, but most of the people aren't like that. Now, when you get into licensed material for something like the Muppets, there are layers of approval. With Pixar, we had like 2 layers of approval. There was the Pixar people who had to approve of what we were doing, and there was the Disney people who had to approve of what we were doing. By the 3rd issue of our awesome first arc of Return of Buzz Lightyear for the Toy Story comics, we got into some legal trouble because we had Mr. Potato Head appear as Buzz Lightyear. And the lawyers went, oh, you can't do that because now Hasbro can go make a Spud Lightyear toy because you put it in the comic book. So we got into all this trouble, and all of a sudden, too many eyes on your book, big problem. So the Muppets were a real big problem doing the comic because not only did we have Muppets approval and the Disney approval, there was a 3rd wave of approval process. Now, what I did for the Muppets was I did a Muppets fairy tale book. I wanted to call it Snow White and the Electric Mayhem. But the company wanted all
it's
of
not far off from what we're getting now. All right, folks, that's a wrap for the conversation today, but it's time for you to let us know what you have to say. Drop a comment down below. We care about what you think, and we would love to hear back your feedback. Tell us, do you think that this fully explains what's going on with our favorite franchises, or do you think that something even more sinister is at play with the corporations? We would love to know your take on the studios and their inability to deliver the kind of content that we, the fans, want. Folks, if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe. Click it and stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Don't forget that the Pro Show is live Thursdays 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time each and every week. We would be excited to see you there live and diving into more of the Disney news and entertainment news because, folks, we're here to keep you ahead of the culture curve and explain entertainment. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Floral, it's time for you to walk the plank.
What? Why?
Because you haven't subscribed to WDW Pro yet. Nor bookmark thatparkplace.com on your web browser to get great articles from great contributors.
What?